Am I the a-hole for getting a restraining order against my fiancé's daughter to get my soon-to-be ex out of my apartment? My fiancée, Susan, has a 14-year-old daughter named Jay. Recently, Jay made some accusations against me that were not only disgusting, but completely impossible. They were the kind of claims that any rational person would question immediately, but Susan didn't hesitate. She believed her without even talking to me, and she kicked me out of our apartment on the spot. For context, the lease is in both our names, so it wasn't even legally her call to make. I went through the entire mess with the police, and after reviewing the facts, it became very clear that Jay's story couldn't hold up. My lawyer advised me to secure myself legally, so we filed for and were granted a restraining order against Jay. She is not allowed within 300 feet of me or my home. It was the only way to protect myself from further accusations. Now Jay has nowhere stable to go. Her father lives 2 towns over, but apparently she doesn't feel comfortable staying with him. Her grandparents live in Arizona. None of her friends who have fathers are allowed to have her over, understandably, so she can't stay with them either. At the moment, she's staying with a friend of Susan's who happens to be a single mother. That arrangement won't last, and Susan knows it. Susan has been begging me to drop the restraining order because if I don't, she'll be forced to move out of the apartment. She says she didn't have a choice, that as a mother she had to believe her child. I understand the instinct, but she didn't even hesitate, didn't ask a single question, didn't check facts, didn't speak to me first. She just threw me out and treated me like a monster. Right now, I don't want her back. I don't want a relationship with her, and I absolutely want nothing to do with her daughter. I can afford the lease without Susan, and honestly, I want her gone. If she has to move because of the restraining order, that's fine by me. Actions have consequences, and she made her choice. To give some perspective on how impossible Jay's accusations were, she claimed I did certain things during the week while Susan was at work. The problem? I also worked during that week on a new construction project at a highly secure site. I park at my company's office, get searched, and then I'm buzzed to the site along with my co-workers. The location is locked down with extreme security measures. No outside transportation can access it. Not Uber, not taxis, nothing. Emergency vehicles are stationed on site. We are under constant surveillance, cameras everywhere except maybe the bathrooms, and even that's not guaranteed. Her story wasn't just false, it was physically impossible, and I'm done. I think this relationship needs to end. Oh, it's over. Since you can't afford rent, get her out ASAP. She should be with her child, and even if the restraining order is dropped, you're not together, so she needs to move on. If she's going to cause trouble and the police can't remove her, it might be easier for you to just move out and get a fresh start, even though that's not fair. She's already caused you more than enough grief. Talk to your landlord. This may count as DV, and he may be able to remove her from the lease and/or premise forcefully. Hard, trying to, trust me, but I can't kick her out. Her name is on the lease too, and even if it wasn't, it would take time to evict her. Now with the restraining order, she will be gone fast. Not the a-hole, but I'm curious, if you're on the lease and currently not living there, or are you, do you still pay for your share of the rent? Not that it matters, but it would definitely add in the entitlement your ex has. Please don't stop me from using you for your money and keep paying for the housing of the teenager that tried to absolutely ruin your life. Of course you shouldn't drop the restraining order. They don't hand those out with cereal. If you obtained it, it means you need it and are entitled to it. You had to deal with all the crap her daughter created for you. Time the mom deals with the crap her daughter created for her. I got back into my place after 5 days. Good. Stay put and don't drop the RO. If you drop it, it will be hell to get it back. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to date a trad wife? I'm a single father, 38 years old, raising one daughter who is 10. Financially, I'm doing more than comfortable. Good career, stable income, a home I bought outright, and enough savings that I don't lose sleep over bills. Life is generally solid, except for one area, dating. The age-appropriate dating pool where I live is surprisingly slim, and the few options that do exist tend to come with the same pattern. Most of the women I meet are in their early 30s to early 40s. Many of them are divorced, and nearly all have children of their own. None of that bothers me. What has become the recurring issue is the situation many of these women are coming from. A lot of them were stay-at-home mothers for years, often because their husbands encouraged it. Then, after they had a couple of kids and hit their mid-30s, the husbands filed for divorce and left them scrambling. After the third or fourth date, almost without fail, the conversations shift. They start telling me about how financially strained they are, how their ex-husbands are withholding or delaying child support to the point of financial abuse, how they're stuck in low-pay or dead-end jobs because they've been out of the workforce too long, and how drastically they've had to downsize their lives. None of this is inherently their fault, and I genuinely feel empathy. But then they see my situation, my house, my car, my stability, and it becomes obvious that they recognize how easily I could support them and their children if I chose to. I'm not looking to adopt someone else's entire life on a third date. Yet more and more, it feels as though that's the expectation. Everything came to a head over Thanksgiving. I hosted a large gathering of more than 30 people. I supplied and cooked most of the main dishes, with help from my third cousin Amy, who has been temporarily staying in my ADU. Apparently, some neighbors and friends brought single women to introduce to me, but afterward I was told, by several people, that Amy was monopolizing my time and preventing those women from getting close enough to talk to me. Then my sisters chimed in, upset that I wasn't making more of an effort to meet these women. When I finally told them plainly that I'm not interested in dating someone whose highest ambition is to be a stay-at-home mom while I bankroll their lifestyle, they were furious. They called me an a-hole for not giving these women a chance. But honestly, I'm tired of feeling like a walking safety net instead of a man someone wants for me. Not the a-hole. We all get to make choices in our lives. Some women choose to be a stay-at-home mom unless you have set up some excellent financial protections ahead of time. It's a very poor choice in my opinion. It's just downright dangerous for women to be so dependent on men. You get to choose not to date stay-at-home mom. The right woman is out there for you. There are plenty of women invested in their careers and who wish to be financially independent. Beyond the dangerous for a woman to depend so much on a man, as a man, I also see it as dangerous for a household to depend so much on one person, especially with the current economic situation. Unless you have a lot of money saved, it's risky to have half of the potential earner in the house willingly not working. You're the a-hole. A trad wife is not the same thing as a stay-at-home mom, and you're conflating the two. Also, complaining about their current job is not the same thing as having no ambition. And if they have a job, they by definition aren't stay-at-home moms at the moment. The job market is crap right now, and single parents need extra schedule flexibility that can be hard to find. Plus, they've been out of the workforce for years, maybe not by choice. Childcare is expensive AF. Sometimes it literally doesn't make sense to have a second paycheck when it, and maybe more, will only go to pay for the childcare that wouldn't be necessary if there was a stay-at-home parent. Have any of these women actually articulated to you that they expect you to fund their lives? Or are you just making crappy assumptions? You come off as extremely judgmental and full of yourself. Fair enough. In many cases, it was how they expressed how much they missed staying at home with their children and not having to worry about working to support them. Edit. To answer a couple of questions. Both of my sisters are married, have children, and are working. Most of my social life takes place at my home, as it is like the gathering place for family and friends. Most of the single women I meet are through my daughter's soccer and softball games and Girl Scouts, and that means they are divorced and have children, and almost every one of their circumstances are very similar. I have dated women who never been married, have no children of their own, and have careers, and most of them don't want to date men who have children. I don't date anyone from work, even though I have been attracted to a couple of them and not under my direct authority. My cousin Amy, not her real name, in a short time lost her job. Her boyfriend of 3 years dumped her, and her parents sold their house that she lived in and moved to Florida. She has been great with my daughter, helped with her Girl Scout troop and soccer team. I helped her get a part-time job after getting here, and now she's going to start work full-time in January. My only problem with her is that she would do anything to help, and I want her to have her own life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to use my entire life savings? our only capital for marriage, to cover my long-term girlfriend's full monthly living expenses indefinitely, which led to her breaking up with me? Context: I, 27 male, have been with my girlfriend, 27 female, for 6 years. We do not live together and both live with our parents. 2 years ago, she was diagnosed with epilepsy and has been undergoing treatment since then. Because of her condition, she had to leave her job. She is currently studying to become a psychiatrist, but is years away from monetizing this career, and she hasn't applied for any other job since leaving her previous one. I took on greater financial responsibilities in our relationship starting then. The financial shift: her family was solely dependent on her father's income. About a year ago, her father stopped working for an unknown reason, which left her family under severe financial distress as they have no income and are using their existing savings. Since these events, I have been covering all the necessary costs in our relationship: dates, expenses, therapy sessions, etc. An unspoken expectation developed that I should completely cover all of her financial needs, including basic living expenses. My financial situation and current contribution: I have a moderate income job and a moderate amount of savings. However, a significant portion of my salary goes toward loans and debts, leaving me with a small residual amount. I have consistently done my best to be a supportive person and help others when possible throughout my whole life, but I cannot spend an amount that jeopardizes my own financial stability or our agreed-upon future plans. She asked me to share a portion of my salary with her monthly to help cover her essential costs. I agreed to help to the best of my ability, giving her a fixed monthly amount that covers almost half of her expenses, and I also helped whenever I could with extra needs. Her demand: a few days ago, she told me she expected me to contribute more, enough to cover all of her essential expenses, not just a portion. I explained that with my current income and debts, I simply cannot afford to give more. The conversation revealed that she expects me to use my savings for this purpose. She wants me to allocate a monthly amount from my savings to cover her full needs for an indefinite period, until she is better or her family situation changes, and no one knows when these are going to happen. The importance of my savings: we had a plan to get married and start a life together. Neither of our families is in a position to help us financially. My savings are the only capital we have to start our married life, enough to rent a small apartment, buy essential furniture, and possibly a low-model car. It is everything I have for our future security. So I told her I cannot agree to watch this crucial savings deplete over an unknown period. I need to know what I am getting in return, and I cannot guarantee a future if our only capital is gone. I am questioning if I am obligated to spend my entire future security simply because her family is broke and she is not working and she won't be contributing financially for years due to her studies. When I stood my ground and refused to commit my savings indefinitely, she broke up with me. I also admit that her condition and medications have sometimes reduced her contribution to the relationship: less affection, less emotional presence. I feel like I was investing a huge portion of my future into someone while she was demanding I sacrifice our only capital and then left me when I refused. Am I the a-hole for refusing to use my life savings to cover my girlfriend's full, ongoing monthly expenses indefinitely, which led to her breaking up with me? So is she never going to be able to work at all? I assume she might be able to work at some point, but it highly depends on her health condition, which is not getting better. She hasn't changed a bit in the last 2 years, so I think this is probably going to be our situation for living for many years. That does not make sense. People work with epilepsy worldwide. Some jobs are impossible, but once medications are found, most live highly productive lives. I have a couple family members with this condition. One so severe he lost his license for several years until they fixed his meds and was able to go 5 years without a grand mal. He just retired. He was diagnosed at 21 due to injury and worked pretty much the entire time after the first diagnosis. Sounds like she does not want to work, just like her father. You dodged a bullet. Good riddance. Let her find if she can get another walking ATM or meal ticket with that attitude. With time she will find one. There is always one, but feel lucky you dodged this bullet. One thing is supporting her, and other thing is she demanding, and breaking up with you, to be your sugar baby. Last story. Would I be the a-hole if I don't tell my wife her sister confessed to me? Hello, English is not my first language, so I apologize for any mistakes. Also, this is my first time posting here, and this is a throwaway for obvious reasons. Well, my 32 male, wife 27 female, has an older sister. We'll call her Annie 34 female for this post. Annie is currently staying with us after her divorce about 4 or so months ago. Apparently, the guy was abusive and a bad person in general. My wife and I are very affectionate with each other, but she asked me to tone it down a little, so as not to make her sister feel awkward or uncomfortable. I agreed, but it's been hard because sometimes I forget, and then feel bad that Annie is there watching us. To make a long story short, my wife went to have dinner with her friends on Sunday. She said she invited Annie, but Annie declined, and she was just letting me know Annie would be home alone when I got there. When I got home, Annie was in the living room in the dark. I turned on the lights and saw she was drinking. She didn't look great, so I asked if she was feeling okay. She didn't answer, so I got closer and asked again. She looked at me and said, "I love you, and I hate that my sister got the perfect guy while I got stuck with a loser. You know I'm a better fit than her," and other things I couldn't decipher. I just told her, "Don't ever say something like that again or I'll kick you out," and she started crying. I took her to her room, cleaned up all her mess, and left again. I only came back home once my wife told me she was already there. Well, Annie's been acting like nothing happened, but I feel like she's always looking at me, though maybe it's all in my head. The thing is, I haven't talked to my wife yet because I know she'd be devastated, and I don't know how she'd react. I'm planning on asking Annie to move out as soon as possible and pretend this never happened, but I've never lied or hidden anything from my wife before, so this doesn't feel right. I also feel guilty, but I honestly just want to do what is best for my wife. I don't really care about Annie, but I know my wife does, and this is going to break her heart. So Reddit, would I be the a-hole? If she never touched you and only complained that her sister got the good guy and she was drunk and incoherent, I would let it go. You can always take action if it ever comes up again, which I think is unlikely. He is not imagining that his sister-in-law is looking at him in a way that makes him uncomfortable. Thus, the pass that she made at him was not a fluke of drunkenness. It was the first volley in a battle to disrupt OP's marriage. Tell her immediately. She needs to know, and her sister needs to be cut off as long as she has active feelings for you. Never be with her alone again. Always have someone else there as a witness. You don't know what she might say if it's ever your word against hers. This is the first time we interacted without my wife present. I don't talk much to her because I don't really like that she's always here. You 100% need to tell her. What if Annie tells her first and spins it like you come on to her and not vice versa? You would be the a-hole if you don't be honest. I did not think about that. That's how we can tell you are innocent and a good man, that you didn't even think of it being manipulated. Edit. After reading all the replies, I decided to talk to my wife today after work. Thank you for the feedback. I really did want to tell my wife, but wasn't sure if it was the right thing to do.